I'm not the only person who's watched the movie Howard the Duck. And I'm not the only person who's watched the movie Howard the Duck more than once, but I am the only person right now who's watched that movie more than once, day after day after day. And I have no idea why. Why is it that Howard the Duck, the movie, and the character too, captivate me so much? I do not have any idea why. Here on this episode of Where Are You From, some good friends and some total strangers have joined me to talk about Howard the Duck and the lasting impact of this character and this motion picture. And to help me answer the question, why does Howard the Duck matter so much to me? How about I begin with a little bit of history, huh? How about I do that? Okay, Heather, I've got 3 words for you.
Oh, we're already recording?
Yeah, this is been going. How do we look, huh?
I think we look good.
Hey!
Hey!
Hi, Scotch! Hi!
Fantastic.
Yes, oh, were we gonna high five?
Almost.
Okay, yay!
There it is.
Am I supposed to? There. About there? So I've got 3 words, all right? Yes. Howard the Duck. All right, so I've got 3 words for you, Tara. I've got 3 words. Howard the Duck.
I love it.
You know, it's a feature film. It's a fictional film. It's based on a comic book character.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Marvel comic book character.
Interesting.
Yes. And it's like, why that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why that Marvel character?
Evolve.
Yeah. Howard the Duck was hatched on Duck World, a planet in another universe, where intelligent life evolved from waterfowl. Duck World resembles mankind's Earth in an astounding number of ways, including the fact that ducks speak English. Howard was dislodged from his home dimension and dropped into the middle of the Florida Everglades on Earth 616, at the site of this world's nexus of all realities, a place from which travel to all other dimensions is said to be possible.
He's a cool duck. He does karate, right? It's
Quack Fu!
Yeah,
Yes,
Quack Fu.
yes.
That's what it is.
No one laughs at a master of Quack Fu.
Exactly.
There was Superman,
Yeah.
you know, and there was Batman as feature films, and Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
It was like, why Howard the, why? It doesn't make any sense.
And you know, before that, all you'd have was DC movies coming out, like Batman and Superman, and here all of a sudden was a Marvel movie and an obscure character to boot.
Yeah.
But they had a pretty big budget. You look at that final scene, I mean, it's some pretty big
yes.
special effects happening there.
I'm sure they just threw a bunch of names in a hat and then they picked it out and they're like, Howard it
George
is.
Lucas did that because he produced it.
Did he?
Yes, he produced it. And it was made by, well, not made exactly by George Lucas, but he had a huge hand in it. For some reason, I was just supposed to watch that movie again and again and again when I was a kid. So I just started working on something about Howard the Duck. And it's like, you know what? I watched that film way too much when I was a kid. You know, we all had that kind of one movie that we
Mine was
watched.
Time Bandits.
Oh, it was Time Bandits for you?
In Time Bandits, they had that dude like blows up like a tomato.
Yeah, so I had watched it over and over and over again. It's come up in conversations like it was repetitive behavior that totally makes sense with me. And it's like, yeah. I watched this film so many times when I was a child. I wore out the tape. Totally. I almost watched it every day.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
Almost every day.
Right.
I've been talking about some 80s films, and some of the films that we had watched way back when just have this vibe about them. You know, where it's like, this is like no other film.
Mm-hmm.
This is like no other film at all.
There's just a couple of them that just kind of have their own crazy, just sticks with you. And again, it's because of our age too, because a lot of the stuff you go back and it's terrible. It's like a weird date where like, I don't know if this went bad or well or not, but okay. Yeah.
And then people started telling me this is a terrible film.
See, now, and you were young, so people could say that you didn't know better.
Yes.
But when I saw it, I was 16 going on 17, and I thought it was a fine movie. I had no problems with it. I should have known better.
And then, yeah, people did tell me this is an awful film. You know, you're watching an awful film again and again and again. For me, like, Howard the Duck was a date, I guess, that went well, but everybody else was telling me that you ought not to be dating that person.
Right.
That person is terrible. And that's what I found out later, that it just totally bombed, you know, and it's just supposed to be one of the worst films ever.
And how'd you respond? Were you like, really?
Well, then what is awful? I don't know what awful is. I started to question, like, do I know what awful is? You know,
Right.
do I know what bad is?
Well, you do have to remember that you were a kid as well too, and like your scope of the world was different, and like something new is good regardless most of the time. because it's just new. Because He-Man was a pile of trash. It was terrible. Like, I won't. After rewatching that, I won't go back and watch any of my childhood stuff. I just won't do it. I just won't do it. I won't watch Mask. I don't won't watch Teenage Turtles. I'm like, that's where it's gonna stay. I'm not gonna ruin this.
I just remember it's weird.
It's
a strange little movie.
It is. It's a very, very strange, peculiar, unconventional film.
Yeah.
But it's like this film, what? It's like, whoa, like where did this come from? Why?
Well, and why so many people liked it and watched it, and why kids resonated with it when it's not necessarily a super kid-friendly film.
No!
I think they confused a lot of parents back then. They're like, they put a duck in it and everyone brought their kids, and they're like, this is not a kid's movie.
No!
By the time I was 16, 17, I was invested in that movie when it came out, and I actually asked a date to go to it with me, and I thought, well, it's got Tim Robbins and Leah Thompson and Jeffrey Jones, who's just in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's like, how can we go wrong? She was less than impressed with that movie.
Was there a second date?
No, there wasn't. I'm not going to just blame the movie. It maybe it's not just the movie's fault.
No.
But yeah, she wasn't impressed as I was with Howard the Duck.
Yeah, well, it's just Halloween approaching, or it's really close. It's next
It
weekend.
is really close,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah, it's next weekend.
Are you going to dress up like Howard the Duck?
I thought about it.
I'd be
Yeah,
impressed.
And so I started thinking about how spooky that film is, how quirky, strange, odd. Because there are some moments where it's like really, really creepy.
Oh, Jeffrey
big
Jones
effects.
just looks freakish.
Yes, I know. And he really, he camps it up or hands it up or he really overacts. But he has to through all of that.
Yeah.
Because he has to be this otherworldly sort of character.
And then facing off with Howard.
So what moment was I supposed to watch again?
Yes,
and
yes.
Again? Like, that I did watch again and again and again. And it was... so yes, there's a character who becomes possessed without giving away too much of the film. And Howard has something on him that character needs. Okay? And that character has not been paying attention to the danger that Howard's been in, or the threat to him. And then finally, that's brought up to this, as we find out, villainous character. That, this is gonna make trouble for you if this happens. And then...
Is this when they're in the diner?
Yep.
That's my scene. That's the one I didn't want to ruin for anybody.
Oh, really?
But it's okay. Just saying
That
diner
was
doesn't
fine.
ruin it.
There's an inappropriate relationship that develops in the comic book between Beverly Switzler and Howard the Duck, that maybe shouldn't be going on between humans and ducks.
Yeah, that comes up in the film.
Yeah. He takes his little ducky condom out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
No, you haven't ruined anything, but this is also my... Okay, please continue.
Really? So
Yes!
The same moment?
I think we have the same moment.
But yes, look at it. Look at how much effort was put into, this one moment, I guess, before the final, battle of the film.
I just didn't want to describe too much, and I don't think you've described too much I'm not implying that. I just am very thrilled that we have... that's why I was like, is that the diner scene? Because that's my scene.
And yet this movie gets dumped on.
I don't understand it. I just do not. Is it just because it's a duck, or is it just because? What is it about ducks? Because there's Donald Duck, there's Donald Duck, there's Daffy Duck, there's Daffy Duck, there's Darkwing Duck, there's Darkwing Duck. You know what that is? Okay, yeah, Darkwing Duck. There's DuckTales. I didn't even bring up DuckTales. And then there's Howard the Duck. What is it about ducks?
They're just they're a comedic animal.
Yes, they are.
They make a cool sound, like the quack. The quack is a cool sound.
Yes.
And they're like small, and their beaks, they're like the orange beak, like the classic orange beak.
Yes.
It's impressive, honestly, how iconic a duck can be.
What I was thinking about was, how would Howard the Duck be made today? I know some people are talking about reboot.
Oh, I'm sure they have it. Like Marvel keeps calling once you get on the Marvel roster. Every time they make something, they just call you back, and they throw you on from one job to another one. Like, a friend of mine went from Winter Soldier to Black Panther 2, and then he went to something else. They just keep throwing them around. because the same producers.
And you know, by today's standards, of course, this would all be CGI'd here. They kind of rotoscoped in these special effects and everything. But I mean, that's a good looking duck, considering they're just using robotics to make the eyes and the mouth move and stuff. But it's it's a little dude in there.
Like if a person did make Howard the Duck. Oh, and also I had read that Robin Williams was replaced on that film. He was originally the voice of Howard the Duck.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, he was. Seth Green was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Chip Green.
Yep. Most recently,
I had no
Seth
idea.
Green.
I'm sure he'll make another appearance somewhere. I just don't know where the hell they do it. He might get his own TV show. But
See, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, what would you do with that character now? Why would they even do that in the 80s? You know, is the question.
Well, that's something different. Man, like they made the Mask, and that was his own standalone thing. Dark Horse. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a Dark Horse comic.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of weird stuff like that where, like, now they're doing a hell lot more than they used to.
But there was something about Howard the Duck, like that film. Like I kept coming back to it. I kept watching it as if there was something I was supposed to know, or if there was some sort of secret about it. And there's still this sort of, I guess, mystery for me about that film, where it's like, why is it bad? I don't get why it's bad. It started out, Howard was one of my best friends when I was smaller.
Do you feel like you identified with Howard when you were younger? Like, about like whether you identified with his struggle or his, his behavior, or not saying that you acted like a duck, but you know what I mean? Like the way that maybe you didn't fit into some prescribed slot.
When I was reading it as a kid, I was 9-10 years old probably, so I didn't really make sense of the fact that it was a real commentary on how society works and everything. But as I got older, I picked up on that.
Yeah.
And so he's just really tiny, and in the film he fights this dark overlord, a really small lead character going up against something really, really huge. And I suppose that's what speaks to all of us about Howard. Like, he just doesn't fit in anywhere in this, and maybe that's why I watched it too.
And I used to buy there was a black and white Howard the Duck magazine too that was pretty neat.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. I did believe that, because that was the sort of tagline for the comic book and for the movie too, stuck in a world he never made. Or trapped in a world he never made. And it's like, for a long time, it did seem like I was trapped in a world that I never made. And that's probably why I had to keep watching it again and again and again. Like Howard, this diminutive character, against this huge, behemoth.
You do get excited about Howard the
I
Duck.
suppose I do, and I have no idea why. And now that I know that I'm on the autism spectrum, and some people say that's like being from another planet, it's like, maybe I just identified with, his experience, because that was the experience, very much that I was having. Yeah, so that's how I probably really identified with the film, because for me it has been like I'm from another planet in my life, and he was, and it's just being misunderstood a lot. What about you? How did you identify with it?
I really identified with Howard in that, like, all he wanted to do was just be where he was, and for some reason, other people made it difficult for him, except for the few people that he encountered who accepted him the way that he was. It doesn't matter if 1,000 people think I'm not the right way. If one person accepts me for who I am, and even if that ends up being myself, and that happens to Howard, he ends up accepting himself. And I don't know. I just think that movie is so great.
I loved the Prince-style rock show that Cherry Bomb puts on, and that song, Howard the Duck, the theme song, Leah Thompson actually sings that. Thomas Dolby did all the music and got the group together and made it so that it looked convincing when they were playing, but they played it.
Okay.
So what comes to mind for you when you think about Howard the Duck?
I think I just went through all of it.
And when I was going to radio school, I actually would play that stupid Howard the Duck song on the air a lot. Because we could play whatever we wanted on the student radio station. So, Howard the Duck got some spins.
Yeah, it's a movie that really impacted me. I do believe it impacted you. It's impacted a generation. I'm not trying to make it huge, like really, really huge, but
Bring it back.
it's kind of like it came out of nowhere and it stayed. It really stayed. And it's really just, colored our world and made it so much more ducky.
Yeah. Ducky.
Do you know how many duck puns like I've been?
You've been thinking up and like collecting?
I guess so. No, that I just do think of, but also that have been coming up. Yeah, there's something foul about that film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waterfowl.
Got it. Got
There
it.
you go.
For a moment, I was like, oh yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Well, bring it back to what you said. Did you ever discover that thing that you felt you were supposed to like take away, or
Like that I was supposed to know?
that you're supposed to know, like it was giving you something? Did you ever receive it?
What I do know is it doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. You know, it doesn't matter, from what planet you're from. It's what you do.
Yeah.
You know, it's what you do with this time you've been given, and it's what Howard does in that. And I haven't looked at the runtime, but I imagine it's an hour and a half, Yeah, he just makes the tough decisions and he just keeps going. He stays on course with what it is that he's supposed to do. And he does it. He commits himself to what he's supposed to do and he does it. And so that's probably why that's what I know now because of that film.